Okay, yeah. I want to record it so those who were elsewhere, run into the little girl, little boy's room or getting a bite to eat, so that they can see this after the conference is over. So what we'll do is we will welcome Dr. Ahonen and let him speak for a moment about how he got involved with EMFs and what his work has been in this area and how he came to volunteer his time to help build our little nonprofit, Wireless Education. So welcome, Dr. Ahonen.
Thank you, Cici. This has been so far a very nice conference. And about wireless education, so our British colleagues, they were actually the initiators some years ago. And then I got interested, so because they were thinking the same way as I do. So I have been doing a risk management educational EMFs something like 13 years. And this was like a nice extension because this allows us to educate people in schools, in families, in companies around the globe, so almost everywhere. And another thing is that I am a researcher. I have been doing research, or especially of base stations, you call them cell towers and their health effects. Also epidemiological studies related use of mobile phones. So this combines many things. So our approach is science-based, and I would say that even our approach in our courses it's very careful, even gentle. So we don't take strong positions. So we just provide factual information, and hopefully in a nice form. And it only takes maximum 30 minutes a day to take this course. And this is also a great opportunity for companies to help local schools and so on. But now, Cici, I let you continue. Please.
Okay, well, Miko, that's a great transition. Let's do a screen share. And what I'll do is I will take us over to our website, which is called Wireless Education. And it's loading now. So this is where you can purchase the courses on our website. You'll see we've kept the pricing very, very low. Our goal is to educate as many as we can for as reasonable a cost. So this is literally less than the cost of what we would pay for a movie ticket. And we do have a corporate course as well, and that's in the $25 range, which we're told is unheard of for corporate training. But again, we're not here to get rich. We're here to help educate the public and teach safe technology uses. So on our homepage, I want to point out that we have a free quiz. Anybody can just take that in 10 minutes or less to get the basics of what this issue is. Then go get a little more in-depth training through the Schools and Families course or the Corporate Induction course. And sometimes what happens is one of the parents will discover that technology safety is an issue that needs to be included just along with, eating healthy, exercising, positive mental thinking, and now safe technology. Sometimes when one parent figures it out, it becomes a really hard sell to get the other adults and children in the house to buy in. So I love this video that Peter Sullivan did. He became electrically sensitive himself. He had been a fighter pilot, so he was heavily exposed to high levels of radiation inside the planes, outside the planes, the radar on the planes. And then he used to also later work in Silicon Valley. His friends are the folks who invented cell phones. So he's really got a lot of knowledge on both ends of this. So he started getting very sick. And then later, when his children were coming up into the preschool years, their cognitive abilities began to develop abnormally and their communication abilities. And so his children wound up on the autism spectrum. And he did what most parents will do. You start removing the food toxins, you start removing the heavy metal toxins, and that's all still really good. But he says now, when he talks to a parent who's dealing with autism, the first course of action he would recommend is to get the wireless radiation remediated. And then you oftentimes begin to see children greatly improve. So there's a little 5-minute video here that parents might want to look at from Peter Sullivan. And then as Miko was just alluding to, we have this Robin Hood model because, again, our goal is to get as many people trained in this, because tonight you could turn off the wireless in your home. You could decide never to put a cell phone back on your body when it's in active mode. And we see time and again, people start sleeping through the night. Children's behavior issues quite often begin to calm down. Anxiety and depression after a couple weeks start to lift. So we want to help train as many people as soon as we can. And so we've developed this Robin Hood model whereby if a corporate entity decides they want to license our corporate course, then we will ask them if they would like to designate a local school, and then we will donate the licensing to train the teachers, the staff, the administrators, and the mature adolescent students, so that together we can learn about this, become socially responsible partners in our communities, and get to safe technology. And as you'll learn during the courses, not only is removing the radiation safer, but using a hardwired connection actually is so much better. It's just better technology. You get better speeds, you get more reliability. Your data is not flying through the air for anybody to hack. It's far more sustainable. And as far as energy consumption goes, that's often enough for a school to say, wow, let's do this, because just by hardwiring, you save a lot of energy. So with that, I would like to come out here, and I have these controls here in my Zoom, which prevent me from getting right down into all of the rooms or all of the screens that I have open. So I'm gonna just minimize a few things so I can get back in and hopefully go into where we have our courses launched. Let me try this. Here we go. Okay. What I'm having to do is shift them all over to the left because my Zoom controls have it such that I can't get to what's behind them. But thank you for your patience. I will bring these forward shortly. Okay, here we go. So this is what our schools and families course looks like. I'm going to admit another participant. And beyond our welcome page, we will go in and look at what these courses, oh, bummer. Let me see if this will come back up. Here we go. Well, this is what it looks like when you go to log into the course engine. Okay, so now we're safely back into the course. And there will be 16 sections in here. And again, it only takes about a half an hour to go through these. And then we'll have little quiz questions along the way, much like we've been doing throughout the conference, just to help reinforce important information. So we use graphics and we use text to convey the information. And then we have these little questions. We also have a feedback section down here because we're all learning as we go. And we welcome the opportunity to hear back from those who are taking the courses. And periodically we go in and look at that feedback and then update the courses once or twice a year. So feel free to share your comments with us. We talk about SAR, which is those exposure limits that our current guidelines are based on, which really don't protect us. We talk about the legal fine print that comes with our devices. Again, additional questions. And then we talk also about this great impact we're seeing on our lives with social, emotional, and addiction values. So we are at a high level, hitting on all the high notes, and how much time is appropriate for children to be spending on screens. And then what does the science tell us? What is the medical research? And then what are the international medical recommendations? And show that we have other countries who are far ahead of this, and they are actually putting out guidelines to protect their public, and we could all learn to emulate that. We talk about cancers and other health issues, and then symptoms that people who are developing these electromagnetic illnesses began to experience. So a lot of people will recognize many of these symptoms, and that might be what motivates them to decide that they really do want to take a look at what's going on in their own homes. And so we talk about where these emissions are coming from, all the devices, and then guiding principles that we have in science and in Europe too. There's something called the ALARA principle, to get to as low as reasonably achievable. We actually have that here in the United States too, but at this point in time, just for ionizing radiation, and we need to progress to incorporate all of the non-ionizing radiation as well. And then we talk a bit about how public policy is moving the needle toward catching up with the science. And then we talk about how do we use technology safely. We talk about what we can do with all of our cell phones. And then we also talk about what we can do with our tablets, our iPads. And this is critical because in this pandemic, especially, we have given every child a device to access their education. And then we talk about the Wi-Fi routers and other devices and how to remediate those to, again, get as low as we can reasonably achieve. So general rules, we just reinforce what it is that we're learning. Additional things like be mindful of secondhand radiation, just like we ultimately learn to do with tobacco. So here at the end of the course, we have a tip sheet, and we can download it in the format that we use here in the US or the format that's common in Europe. And then as you complete the course, had we been doing the questions all along and answering them, you would have a score here. And if you got less than 100%, you're welcome to go back to those pages, and then you would be able to be, you'd be given the chance to redo your answers and come back. So at the end of this, we can email a certificate to you along with your scores, so that if you are taking this at school or at work, then you will have your certificate of completion, which you may need to turn into your compliance officers who oversee risk management at school or at work. So that is what the schools and families course looks like. And Miko, would you like to do screen sharing from your end? And then you can take us through the corporate course. Welcome, Marge and Johanna. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, welcome. Currently, I have some difficulties in sharing this corporate course from my side, but I could share a screen just
Okay.
to start in just a moment. So here it comes. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miko. Let me see what I can do about that.
By the way, can you CC share the corporate course?
Sure.
Please.
Okay.
So in the meanwhile, I could say that we are providing very cheap and effective way for companies to train their employees for safer practices. I mean, safer practices of using their mobile devices, starting from cell phones, going to Wi-Fi routers, and so on. And even we can promise benefits with ergonomics, and it's surprising perhaps. And now Cici has been kind in sharing this screen. So we focus mostly on practical risk management, but we also focus on recommendations And we really provide many different tips and advices for companies. And it even has happened that when somebody sees this corporate course, he or she understands that the local company can also help local schools. I mean, after taking this course in a company, the company can, with very little money, provide a school for local school as well. But we could go to this section A, please, Sisi.
Okay.
Yeah, even further.
Hmm.
Oh, well, I had the same challenge on my screen.
Took me over to the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But no worries. Um, um, Currently, companies are providing mobile devices for the workforce, and the challenge is that employees don't know how to use them, even according to handbooks. Uh, and that is why we provide the same information that is in those handbooks, and it is very useful, so to say.
yeah, and it's true. You know, I think we were all very surprised when it was pointed out to us that even in our own devices, it's telling us that we shouldn't be using these devices near to our bodies. And, you know, there's a big corporate risk management there. And we've incorporated that into the corporate course. We talk about lawsuits that are being won around the world for workers' compensation. Ironically, some of you may be familiar with the gentleman, I believe he was from Italy, who worked for one of the telecommunications companies, and he was made to use his cell phone for work for conference calls, and he wound up getting the tumors, and the courts found in his favor. And we also see other cases where the courts rejected the industry funded science and only looked at the non-industry funded science and made their rulings accordingly to support the people who had become ill from this radio frequency radiation. So
Yes, and these cases, they are very actual. The latest ones are from 2020 here in Europe, from Italy, and for this reason, it is very useful for every company actually to inform their employees. And we are not talking only about um, uncomfortable things like cancers. It's about all day stress management, burnouts. Burnouts are increasing tremendously in many workplaces. So it's about the productivity of the workforce.
right,
Simply.
right. That's good. I know when I had the privilege of going to Washington, D.C. with Dr. Martin Pall when we were at a conference at the National Institutes of Health. And he and I cleared our schedules to go speak to our legislators for a few days while we were in the area. And I just remember going into, I think it was Senator Tammy Duckworth's office, and the gentleman who was manning the front desk was sitting there very near to the router. He had a wireless headset on. He was working on a wireless device. And I thought, my goodness, these people have no idea how much exposure they're getting on a regular basis. And that is what a lot of our workspaces have become. And so now that we have the corporate safety induction course, we can literally train an entire workforce on their lunch hour. These courses don't take long. They give you the basics. They give you a tip sheet at the end with handy reminders on how to use technology safely. And they also provide a certificate of completion with a score from the little quizzes that we give throughout the courses. So we hope that people will take advantage of them because they're ready. They are online, they can be accessed today. And we do offer bulk pricing as well. We will work with any school. You know, we realize school budgets are very, very tight. So just please reach out to us, have your schools reach out to us. We can come and give a presentation and help with the training as we roll out safer technology programs. I was brought into a Waldorf school. I think it was a Waldorf. Yeah, either that or a Montessori. And I was able to sit with the kids, these kids at the high school level, and talk to them and answer their questions. And then they went home and they talked to mom and dad. And some of the kids had already said, my mom's always told us we can't have a wireless device. So, you know, bless those who have learned about this and choose mindfully to have safe technology practices as much as we can, control what we can, and then start the conversations with our towns about the areas that we don't have control over. So, all right.
Yeah,
Um,
and I could add that our team is currently already in many countries, so we can provide webinars, all kind of forms of education.
yeah.
Uh,
And
we are
Miko
very,
is multilingual, so we can
yeah.
hopefully accommodate in multiple languages. And as we get further along with wireless education, as we get closer to a tipping point of the world knowing about this issue, when our revenue stream improves, we hope to be able to offer our courses in translations, and then we hope to develop advanced courses. But for today, we already have a schools and families course and a corporate course to get the basic training out there. So with that, I would like to welcome our guests to unmute themselves on both their microphone and their camera if they would like to join the conversation and ask questions.
Please.
I wanted to ask a question of what size businesses are doing your course, your corporate course?
It can be any size. It can be an office of 3 people or 5 people, or it can be an office of 50,000 people. We have the technology, so we'd love to be able to train as many as we can.
Go
This,
into how to
yeah.
hardwire.
Pardon?
Do you, if they want to convert their entire office to hardwire everything, do you go into that? How to do that in your course?
In the course, we offer the generalities of, you know, going with Ethernet cables, using adapters, turning off as much of the ambient radiation as you can. But Miko, I know, has gone in and done actual training inside companies, so I'll let him speak to that further.
Well, with companies, we just need to ask what they want and what they wish, because these are great policy questions. I mean, they have already existing wireless infrastructure. They have also existing Ethernet cable infrastructure, fiber infrastructure, and they wish to utilize, let's say, both or all those areas. But we are talking about risk management with these companies. I mean, I'm living in Finland and I work mostly with Nordic companies, sometimes with German companies.
Very good. All right, Mark, welcome.
Hi. I'm just wondering, Dr. Harut mentioned something about productivity decreasing with increase of use of devices. And I think it was businesses he was talking about. Something similar might apply in schools. Do you have any data on that?
All I know is a German, actually, it was an insurance company that was collecting the amount of burnout rates. And well, this company was collecting burnout rates and informing every year those burnout rates. And there was a rather, let's say, nice or real connection to the growth of mobile phone subscriptions and the use of mobile data. And this graphic and this statistics is in a paper of Warnke and Hensinger. So it was a German research paper originally, but it has been translated to English as well. So this paper was about burnout, but I could, just a moment, I will paste it to the chat window.
It's great.
But
Okay,
you can
that's
take
great.
the
I was
next
just gonna,
question.
I was just gonna suggest that. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Joanna, I see your hand is up.
Hi, thank you. I
welcome.
just had a quick question about if you have any programs where you work with, I'm a building biologist in almost finished in training. Do you have, I guess it would be like an affiliate type of a program or something if a professional like myself wants to put a link on my site to for clients to be able to get that education, that basic, the starting point there. Do you have any programs like that, or do you customize?
Yeah, no, we could talk about that offline. We could get you a copy of our logo that you could put up on your website. We've done that with others, and then they can just hop right over. But yeah, I think that's brilliant. And if you go to our booth with wireless education, in the resources section at the bottom, you'll see, hang on, I'm going to grab you one. I'll show it to you.
Thank you.
In the meanwhile, I can say that I have been talking with Peter Sierk about
Peter.
you earlier.
Okay, good. So this is our wireless education information card. On the front, it talks about, in general terms, what the issue is, and then on the back, it talks about the 3 courses. So if you go into our booth, you can take that file with you, and then you could just go to your local print shop and have a stack of them printed up. I know I have ordered some through Vistaprint myself, and I just keep, actually, I have an acoustometer, and I have a stack of them inside the sleeve of my acoustometer. So when I'm out and I'm meeting with people, I can just hand them these cards. Or I've gone to local town meetings and I just stand by the door and I hand them out to everybody when they're going
Great.
in. So,
Yeah.
and my acupuncturist, my chiropractor, I've given them all a stack and they keep them in their offices as well. So
Wonderful.
Can you hold that
Thank
up?
you. I will, I'll send you an email then about that.
okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, leave me your business card in our booth.
Okay.
That's an
Oh,
easy.
perfect. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Can
All
you
right.
can you just hold that card up again, please?
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. And thank you for all you do with Frank at C4ST.
Well, it's nice to see you. This is great.
I know, I love this. I am so grateful for everything that you guys did up there. I think that with you guys working on legislation when you were doing the parliamentary work and stuff, that was such an inspiration for us too. And we've taken that here in Massachusetts as courage to get in there and keep having these conversations with our legislators who have no idea this issue even exists. So
yeah, so we're actually coming out with some documents. One of them is on the site, so it's geared to Canada, but it's basically statements that have been put on the Government of Canada websites that we then fact checked. And so we're doing that, and then we've got one about engaging our elected representatives, our members of parliament. And then we're coming out with another one called a guide on how to stop 5G, basically. So those are coming out, so they'll be on the website, we hope, in the next days or weeks. So
yeah,
and we're looking to you too, like I think this is really, this conference has been a wonderful opportunity to network and to meet people. So yeah.
Very good. I know when I went to that first conference that we had in 2019, I was like a kid in a candy store. I couldn't believe I was in the same space with all my heroes, or so many of my heroes. I still have yet to meet Miko in person. We've been working together for 4 years now, but I had to ask him the other day, so Miko, how tall are you?
So Miko, I've got a question. Your name looks so familiar. What publications what have you published?
Yeah. I have been in Professor Medical Doctor Lennart Hardel's research.
Oh, yes.
And
so
that is why maybe you have been reading.
Right. Well, that's really, really so important. Somebody emailed me the other day and they just said, thank heavens for Dr. Hardell. So it's very true. So So one of the things I need to do, so what's happening here locally for me, so I live in the middle of Canada. I live quite far from Frank, but there's a cell tower coming up right in a little town. And I want to put a compilation of letters together or find them. I know they're out there, but it'd be nice. This is not about 5G, by the way. This is just about a cell tower. The company that's actually putting the cell tower up across from the school, 250 meters, is a fiber optic company, but they're putting a cell tower right next to the town. Go figure. So it's about, I looked at some of the letters, and they were about 5G, and this is not about 5G, it's about cell towers. So anyway, I think, I don't know how prevalent that is, because of course we're fighting the small cells too.
Right. Well, in order for 5G to fly, they're going to have a lot more of the big cell towers too, because that's the backbone for the little cell towers. So they're not slowing down in putting in the big cell towers too.
Well, what I don't understand is the fiber optics runs right down the highway that's right by this little town. So they're branching off, and they are going to provide fiber optics to the town. Anyway, I don't know. It's all very confusing.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you know what? I'm sorry, Miko, go ahead.
Yeah, I could perhaps explain. So it is very expensive in many cases to install Wi-Fi to lamp posts. At least here in Finland, I don't see those installations. It's so much cheaper to have cell towers, or in Europe we call them mobile phone masts.
Right.
And the thing is that, for example, here in Finland, this is like a fantastic test area for teleoperators, because they can install those cell towers in many places without any permissions. But anyway, right now they are updating those 4G or LTE base stations. So they are adding a huge amount of extra antennas. And additionally, they are taking fiber optics cable to every base station. Earlier, they haven't had it, because for 5G, they always need this fiber optics to the base station. And well, I see that there will be mostly base stations. They will not go very easily to those lampposts, because it's more expensive. And related to this 5G, the biggest problem right now is 4G and this increased amount of antennas, and we don't see any extra increase in RF radiation from 5G yet, because people don't have 5G mobile phones or 5G routers.
Yeah, and my understanding though is that in the same cabinets where they're putting this souped up 4G at close range, where they are putting them up, they've also got arrays in there with antennas for 5G that at some point in the future they can just activate with a software update, right?
Yeah, software updates.
Yeah. So, but now in areas where we have a densified population, they are putting these in. At the curb, I just saw one story from Texas this week where there's this box that just showed up on these people's front lawn. Literally a 5G box right on their front lawn, no informed consent. So the industry's pushing hard and fast right now. But yeah, in the areas that aren't so densely populated, we can expect more cell towers. But what I was going to say, I'm sorry, do I pronounce your name Marg or Marge?
It doesn't matter.
Hey, you. What I was going to say is there's a woman in Connecticut who did a really good presentation to her town. And there was a cell company that wanted to put a cell tower in her town to service the town next door. And she's a science teacher, and she thought that was not really a good thing to do. So, but one of the slides in her presentation that really hit home for a lot of people is she just went out to a mapping site and showed where that cell tower was going in, and then she took the science that showed that there's an increase in cancers and neurological disorders and, you know, all the science within a radius of, what is it? You guys do meters, like
Yeah,
500
yeah.
meters.
Yeah, there's the
Um,
Brazilian study.
Yeah, and then there's
Brazilian.
also the real estate studies that show within like 720 meters, real estate drops. So what she did is she went out and pulled up a map of the area,
Yeah,
and then she drew the diameter from the center of where that cell tower is going, and then counted up how many homes were in that area, you know, for both the health effects and the property value effects,
right.
and said, on average, these homes cost X amount of dollars. And so the tax revenue to the town is this amount of dollars.
Excellent.
And if you're going to put that cell tower there, you can bet you're going to lose money, regardless of
That's
what
a
they're giving you,
really good point. Now,
Yeah.
can you,
Interesting calculation.
right?
do you know where, how do I find that?
I actually just went out online and I typed in radius of a map or something, and then I just put in the address where the cell tower was going, and it put a point on the map. And then it had I can send you some. I'm figuring it out myself. She just did cut and pasted and went into PowerPoint
Oh.
and made a map.
Yes, because I think this revenue business, now
Mhm.
it's going to be next to impossible to stop it. But and but the more people are educated, this is an opportunity to educate.
Right.
And maybe we can't stop it here, but as people learn more, and hopefully we'll get something into the newspaper. So that's excellent. I love that.
Yeah. Hit
Because
them where it counts. Hit them where the money is.
yeah, exactly.
Follow the dollar, right? That's how we got
Exactly.
into this mess. But
Yeah.
listen, we're going to need to wrap up because the conference is going to pick up again in a couple minutes. Were there any other burning questions we can answer for you now? All right. So tell me, how do you really pronounce your first name?
Oh, well, okay. So my name is Margaret,
Okay.
but it's too long to type and I always make mistakes. So I use Marg.
Okay.
Marge is fine. And there's another variation, which is just fine too. So thank you very much. How many schools have you presented at and how many corporations have you presented at?
Not enough.
Uh-huh.
Not enough. This issue really needs to come more mainstream before our little nonprofit will fly. We are staying above water, barely.
Mhm.
So the more that we can get people to start taking these courses, the longer we can stick around.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Just
yeah,
keep plugging along.
yeah, we are. We're just chipping away and hanging in there.
Yeah.
Have
Yes,
you had
Ann.
any schools hardwire as a result of your education?
We have had, there's a Waldorf school in Massachusetts, and I went up to Maine. I was brought up to give a talk there, and we stopped into this little one-room school. It was like a little one-room school building, but it was a house that was converted. And we went in there and I measured, and they were actually already completely hardwired. All we had to do was go into the devices and turn off the antennas. That was it.
Wonderful.
And teach the kids to use the tablets in airplane mode if they were going to be walking around with them. That's all it took.
Next little step.
That was it. A 1 hour visit, right?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's good to remember that to every classroom where there is Wi-Fi, there is also already an Ethernet cable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just need some imagination how to maximize the use of this Ethernet connection.
Yeah. And
Thank
get
you
that
for that.
mind shift.
What's the difference?
That's very valuable information. Thank you. Yeah.
What's the difference in cost to hardwire versus just to do wireless?
It would be different. You'd have to do that assessment for each building, for each classroom, for each school district. It's going to be different. When you watch Generation Zapped, the gentleman from the Los Angeles County School District, he has a slide up in his presentation that shows what their cost analysis was. But again, are you going to go for the Cadillac version? Or are you going to go for the low-hanging fruit and get rid of the things that are exposing the kids?
If we factor in the cost of all the health problems to the children, I would say that it's far more costly to have wireless in there than or the loss of their brain power.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's factor in
Absolutely.
all the costs.
Bye, Marge. Thanks so much. Yeah, and that's unfortunately, as Paul Harose taught us today when he compared lead and EMFs, government and industry have no interest in looking at that. We as parents and as the public, we need to drive that conversation. So
That's what I've been working on with Senator Bennett, who's trying to do this $4 billion bill for hotspots in schools now and libraries. And I have gotten information into his hands through his Western Slope director here who lives in Durango with me.
mhm.
And I mean, I've sent all kinds of information. We were ready to have him talk to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about this. And his staff said he didn't have the time. I don't know how to.
There's a lot of politics. Nancy, you and I should set up a meeting to talk about this because I can share with you what's going on potentially behind the scenes there and help you
Okay.
understand, okay? But we got to run back into the
Okay.
conference. Thank
Okay,
you so much.
bye-bye.
All
Thank
right,
you.
happy evening,
Nice to
everybody.
see you. Thank you,
Bye.
Miko.
Bye.
Bye.